Gonna decide, is he a quality YouTuber? Does he give value of information? Or does he spew nonsense? Coach Greg, and in today's video, I'm going over the information, the knowledge presented by Alex Eubank. And so today, we're going to watch his video. It's called What I Learned the Last 6 Years of Lifting, and see, does he give out the quality information that you should be listening to? And so stay tuned to find out.
So the first thing I was going to go over is how to cut properly. If you give your body only 1,000 calories a day, it's going to end up getting used to that 1,000 calories per day to where you won't be able to lose weight eating 1,000 calories per day.
And so he says the worst thing people do is they'll cut down calories too much. You'll eat one meal a day or only eat 1,000 calories. He says if you eat 1,000 calories, that your body can get used to that, and then you'll no longer lose weight at that point. Now listen, that's partially true, but your body doesn't simply adapt to whatever calories you throw at it. If I were to eat 1,000 calories a day, I wouldn't get used to it. My body would become an anorexic sub 100 pound person. I wouldn't have energy to move, and I would continue to drop weight until I'm well under 100 pounds. And so yes, it's true. You should be in a small deficit. You shouldn't try to lose the weight too fast, but you can't just adapt to anything. If that were the case, people could eat nothing and adapt to it and survive on their own.
So what I would do is I would probably eat 2,200 calories, and then I would add in around 25 minutes of low intensity, steady state cardio.
And so he says when he goes on a cut, he decreases his calorie intake by 300 and adds about 250 calories a day to his cardio routine. In total, that equates to about 1 pound of fat loss per week. And so to me, excellent information. This is a slow, gradual fat loss. If you're losing weight too quickly, you're going to lose muscle, you're going to have a slower metabolism, and you're going to be starving, not have the energy. And so great advice here from Alex.
Low intensity steady state is like your heart rate's, you can maintain a conversation while doing the cardio. You're not going crazy balls to the wall.
And his advice on cardio, it's great. Low intensity steady state cardio, the kind where you can carry a conversation. He's not recommending you do HIIT, and he says to do it every day. And what do I preach? 150 minutes of cardio a week. Important for the heart, helps you to burn more calories, more fat, become a better butter burner. And so absolutely great advice from Alex.
And I used to do it fasted in the morning, but I've realized too, and after talking to some more like professionals, that as a natural, it's not smart. And I do notice you will become a lot more flatter throughout the day.
And what about empty stomach cardio? He says it's better to do the cardio after lifting weights. When he does empty stomach cardio in the morning, he feels flat, doesn't have as much energy, and it's easier to lose muscle. After all, you're missing your first opportunity for muscle protein synthesis to occur, and so why would you skip that? Why would you not eat? At the end of the day, calories in, calories out, and so you don't need empty stomach cardio to help you to burn fat.
Track your weight every single morning while you're eating at that consistent calorie number while doing that cardio. If your weight is not going down, you either have to lower your calories by like 100, or you have to increase the cardio by like 5 minutes extra a day.
And great advice here on tracking your weight. He says to weigh yourself every morning after using the bathroom and just see if it's consistently going down, perhaps week to week. Rather than weighing yourself once a week, how do you know if you're not dehydrated or bloated on that given day? Better to track your weight every single week. And if you're not losing weight, you can then just add a bit more cardio or lower calories a little bit. Not by much, 100 or 2. That's all that it takes. And if you're losing weight too fast, well, you can add more calories to the diet, perhaps an extra snack, an extra meal, or a bigger meal, a cheat even, or you can reduce the total amount of cardio that you're doing, but please keep it at 150 minutes or more per week.
The less per week, the better in terms of keeping your muscle mass. So that's what I recommend. So I'd say like on average around 1 pound per week of loss is a pretty good pace to try to stick with.
And so he says the slower you lose the weight, the better. And it's 100% true. He says 1 to maybe 1.5 pounds of body weight loss per week. That is plenty. And if you're losing 2 pounds a week or more, you're probably going to lose muscle. And that is great advice.
And if you need tips for that, to feel more satiated, you got to find ways to increase your, fiber intake, or find high volume, low calorie foods.
And he also says if you're struggling to lose weight, to keep yourself full, have more low calorie dense foods, things like fruits and vegetables, things that have a lot of fiber. And so we're off to a good start. This was a great answer to question number 1.
How to bulk properly. Any diet that you can stick to is a good diet.
That's right. There's so many diets out there, whether it's intermittent fasting or keto, the OMAD diet, vegan, and so on. But the diet that you can stick to, that's the diet that you should maintain on.
Dirty bulking is like a bad idea, but you do not need to be in a stupid surplus, at least I believe, to gain size.
And so he says, if you're a hard gainer, you can in fact dirty bulk, but don't do so in such a large surplus. There's no reason to eat more than a 300 calorie surplus a day. After all, if you eat too much, the extra calories are in fact going to turn to fat. You think you're getting huge, massive, but what you're doing is getting a lot of fat.
I see a lot of kids who will send me DMs telling me to like ask if they should cut or how much they should cut. Like, there's no point. That's the stupidest shit you could do, because this is the best time in your life to build a good foundation, which is what I did.
I would say the exact same thing. If you're already lean, you can already see abs. Why are you trying to diet more? Yet they're dieting, they're cutting because they see people on social media who are absolutely shredded and they're trying to look like that. But if you're a young teenager, you're not competing, why are you trying to be single-digit body fat? And so his advice to be in a small calorie surplus, just a little bit. Don't get too fat. You can, of course, bulk if you're very lean, but if you're already fat, you've already got too much fat, you can't see any abs at all, there's no use to bulking at this point.
Dirty bulking or like being in a big surplus might be good for some people, although being in, a maintenance or a little small surplus might be better for others.
And so overall, he says, look, it's what makes you the most happy. If you don't mind having a bit of extra body fat and you want to eat whatever you want and that's the diet you like, then go for that. But if you want to be lean, have abs year round, so far as you're not too lean and you have plenty of energy, there's nothing wrong with trying to maintain or do a small lean bulk of a small calorie surplus.
Another question I get a lot is how many times a week should you be hitting each muscle group? I'd say on average around 2 times. I only ever took rest days when I feel that I personally needed it.
And so what about rest days? Should you plan them out? He says, I don't plan rest days out. I just train. Perhaps it's a 3-day split. Don't plan for a day off because you never know when you need that day off. Same as I feel. Also, deloads. He doesn't like planning a deload. Eventually, the deload's going to happen regardless. You're going to go on vacation, you're going to get sick, you might get injured, feel a small tweak, and so you deload at that point. You're feeling overtrained, well, now's the time to deload. But planning out a deload in advance, saying next month I'm doing a deload, well, how do you know you need one? If you're feeling great, recovering, making gains, why are we deloading? Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't break what needs to be fixed. I don't know, there's a saying, don't break it if it isn't broken, don't fix it if it doesn't need to be fixed. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Something, pick the saying you want.
I don't take the fitness stuff super try hard. I'm not a bodybuilder. I like to, find a way to have a good balance with having a good life and then also having a good, aesthetic.
Exactly. It's all about balance. He's not a professional bodybuilder, and so you have to balance the training being aesthetic with living a normal life, and I 100% believe the same thing. I think that people who plan everything to a T, it's too much. It's science this, science that, 1 IR, RIR, reps in reserve this, I trained too hard, new load, deload, and it just becomes overwhelming. Just go to the friggin' gym, be consistent, get in your cardio, progressive overload, which means train harder than last time, and you're gonna get the gains.
How many working sets per muscle group? The whole idea of intensity versus volume.
Next up, how many sets should you be doing per body part? And what I've said in the past is 10 to 20 sets per body part per week. So depending on how often you train, you split that up. And the more volume you do, the less intensity you do. The harder you train, if you're doing drop sets, sets to failure, and so on, then you don't do as much volume. And so it depends. Let's see what Alex adds to this.
If you actually are having intense ass workouts, you're not going to be able to have a lot of volume. Your body just won't be able to handle it. And if you don't think that's true, then you're not really training as hard as you think you are. Same thing for volume. If you're able to do a shit ton of volume, you're not training hard enough.
And so his advice, don't do a bunch of shit volume. If you're doing 25 sets of a body part, there's no way you're training really hard. You're doing it easy so that you can get the volume in. And so far too often, people go easy, they do a lot of volume, and they overtrain. There's no reason to do that. But when you first start training, when you're a beginner, intermediate, you don't need as much volume as when you're an advanced lifter. And since he's been training for 6 years, he clearly has adapted to training harder. He likes to train heavier, harder, go to failure, do drop sets, and so on. If you're new to the gym, you don't have to do that. But remember this. If you're training in the gym the next day, you can feel all your muscles are really sore, you're probably training too hard. But if you're never sore, you never feel that ache, the pain, the day after training, the cramp in the muscle, then perhaps you could train a little bit harder.
You're literally tearing down your muscle tissue, and if you do it too much to where at a pace where your body can't keep up with it, you're going to be in a catabolic phase, not an anabolic phase where you're getting bigger. So
exactly. Whether you do too much volume or train too intensely, if your body can't recover from that, then you're not going to put on the size. Your body grows while you're recovering. It's not growing while you're training. It's during the recovery phase after you go to the gym that your body is then building stronger. You're tearing down that wall, getting microfiber damage, and overall, you're going to then get a stronger wall.
What I've figured out now after 6 years of training is I get more from my workouts when I train very, very intense to failure rather than doing like 4 sets of 12, stopping on the 12th rep, and I feel like I had 2 more in the tank.
And so I have to agree. I'm not one to go to the gym and leave 2 reps in the tank. That's for warm-up sets. But when I train, I want to train hard. I want to train to failure. I want to push myself. Now, this is great advice, but if you're a beginner, if you're just getting back to the gym after an injury, a layoff, you don't need to train that intensely. You can train with several reps in the tank. You simply then progressive overload. But after you've been training, for example, for 6 years, if you're not pushing yourself to failure ever, then you're most certainly leaving some gains at the table.
I'll do more of the time under tension, slow contractions in the pause reps, which I still feel like is amazing. Like time under tension stuff is really good. You do not have to be super strong to build a good physique.
And also some good tips from Alex. You don't need to ego lift. It's better to use time under tension, control the weight, the eccentric, concentric, and pause phase of the movement. You don't need to throw around the weights, cheat them up, and try to show up by lifting really heavy. More important to really focus on properly lifting the weight, using great technique. That is how you're going to build muscle.
Probably per week, I'd say like, I don't know, maybe 15 working sets per muscle group is probably what I do right now.
And so overall, to answer the question, he says about 12 to 18 sets per body part, with oftentimes being 15. And that goes right along with most people's recommendations of somewhere between 10 and 20 total sets per body part per week.
Are supplements necessary for muscle growth? No.
Unless, of course, you've used PDs or supplements in the past and you're beyond your natural genetic limit, then of course you're going to need them to keep that muscle. If you take them away, you're going to lose muscle. And so if somebody's on SARMs and or steroids, PDs, and so on, and they take those things away, and they expect to continue to build muscle, then that's just ridiculous. But I do believe everyone knows that. But if you're a new lifter, you're at the beginner or intermediate level, you don't need a single supplement out there to help you to put on muscle. Can they help? Of course they can. Do you need them? No, you do not. And this is the perfect analogy. I can ride on a $2,000 bicycle, I can train every day and get much faster. Is the $15,000 bicycle faster? Yup, of course it is. But it doesn't mean that just because I'm riding on a $15,000 bike that I'm going to beat somebody with great genetics who trains hard who rides a $2,000 bike. Does that make sense? And so just because you're on steroids and or SARMs, it doesn't mean you're going to beat somebody who is not.
If you have extra money to spend, go ahead and try some supplements. For me, I don't recommend taking a stimulant pre if you are not already taking a stimulant pre.
And so he says, if you have the extra money and you want to do it, then by all means you can do it. You don't need to. Same with a bicycle. If you can afford a $15,000 bike and you want to ride a minute faster over that hour, by all means, buy the lighter bike. But you don't need to, and it can still be just as fun without the expensive bike. And if you're natural, you don't need to take pre-workouts and all these different things. You can just train as natural as possible. And then if you want to buy supplements later in the future, you have the money, then that is your decision to make. Also has great tips, says don't get addicted to pre-workouts that are stim-based. You can use pre-workouts that are a pump. Also, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, really all you need. There's no benefit after that. Lots of great tips from Alex.
Also, I don't believe in the whole myth of having to have a protein shake after a workout if you're having intra-workout. So people overlook intra-workout a lot. This is the one supplement that I would say like is honestly like game-changing low-key.
Also says the post-workout shake that people think they need, the protein shake, highly overrated. You don't actually need that. For him, he likes an intra-workout, something that gives him more carbs. And to me, that does in fact make sense. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're not eating a lot in the pre-workout meal or perhaps in the morning, and you get to the gym and you don't have a lot of energy, perhaps you can benefit from an intra-workout. But if you eat a lot beforehand, what I do, I eat on the way to the gym. There's no need for me to consume an intra-workout carb-based drink.
For me now, I think it's very important to have a good balance with programming, being able to track if you're actually getting stronger in the gym, which is something I lacked on a lot because I was just lazy.
And what about programming? Well, he says back in the day, he just went to the gym and did whatever. But today, his advice would be to have proper programming, to write down how much you're lifting and how many reps. That way you can track progressive overload. I would recommend the same thing. And of course, you can invest in a coach if you have the money, but if you don't, just try to keep track of what you're doing. Don't expect to go up every single day, but perhaps once a a month, you set a PR. You realize you've set a PR, you can celebrate the fact that you're getting stronger. That is what progressive overload is. It's not about beating it every single time. I've seen influencers in the past say, well, what I do is I go up 2 reps every day, and when I get to 12, I add 10 pounds, go back down to 8, then 10, then 12. You can't do that forever. That is not realistic. But what is realistic is to try to improve. You try to progressive overload. You try to go harder than last time. You will not be able to get stronger and lift more every single time. No one can do that. If you could, you'd be the world champion powerlifter in a matter of years. But what you can do is track your progress and ensure that slowly over time, you're either lifting heavier weights, doing more reps, increasing time under tension, have a greater mind-muscle connection, you're controlling the weight more, perhaps pausing it, and over time, just try to keep working harder. If you're not sore, you're not making gains, try to increase your intensity, perhaps the volume. If you are sore, you're not recovering enough, then do less. Go easier than last time.
I personally don't have a coach right now, but I don't think it's a bad idea to ever invest in one that can keep you accountable or give you good programming and stuff.
And so overall, got to give him a 9.5 on 10. Very high quality information. I do think that his younger audience, primarily people in their teens and 20s, they can learn a lot from Alex Eubank. He's not spewing nonsense. And so I would say if you're a young influencer wanting to learn how to train, diet, and so on, give Alex Eubank a follow. Hope you learned something. Ending it here. Looking for a cookbook? Get the hard copy cookbook today. Also, the Circle Diet book, the training books, coaching plans by me and my team. Subscribe and click the bell button. Comment for the algorithm. Please watch the bloops if you can. At least one. Also, harder than last time supplements. So many new products available. Please click the link in the description. So much. I can't explain them all here. All the supplements you've been after. Just go and check it out. We have more supplements than last time. And until next time, I am out.